when I look at combat capability development within the SOCOM enterprise, it's the NCOs who are figuring these things out and bundling things together in new and novel ways to try to create dilemmas and or disruption for these things that we're talking about. But it's clear we're going to have to change the way we fight wars and make sure that the mix of combat capability that we're given the ground force commanders and the airborne commanders matches and exceeds the threat, not only in capability, but also in quantity, because quantity has a quality all of its own. And we need to make sure that we're not, giving warfighters great kit, but not enough of it. And that's where I think we need to be really looking hard at what our defense industrial base can provide for the nation.
Yeah, it seems like a few things to look at there, and I know that's been brought up quite a bit. Hopefully, we start solving that and turning that corner. Because it's only going to get more complex. So we kind of jump from the SCUD to that. So interesting. I appreciate you going down the rabbit hole with me. The test center. So you go to the test center next. I don't necessarily want to skip over that. That does seem like a great job. But after the test center, you end up as the special assistant to the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture as an F-16 pilot. I gotta wonder what
the heck happened.
What is that job? How does that happen? What are you doing?
Well, first, let's not skip over the test center because we cannot. We got to hit pause there. And I've never had a bad assignment, but that opportunity to serve with that group of epically world-class tacticians, leaders, thinkers, humans was very, very special to me, especially at that time in my career. And it's like a motorcycle gang with PhDs, and although none of them have PhDs, but we had this incredible group of folks that were unbelievably committed to getting combat capability to the field right now, from the operational test pilots to the flight test engineers, even to the contractors. And they fielded night vision goggles. They fielded lightning pods and sniper pods. They fielded situational awareness data links. They put JDAMs on Block 30s. They put AIM-9X on Block 30s. They did all of these things in record-setting time. Laughed a lot along the way, but in the end, it did not count until it got to the field. And our ability to execute the SCUD hunt was solely reliant on the test center's ability to create gateways and link 16 to saddle and put lightning pods on A-10s and saddle on F-16. I mean, it's just, you cannot say enough great words about that organization. So, we had a great boss, John Mooney, who'd come in after that. We had great bosses before that, legendary humans as part of that cohort. And I'm very humbled to be a part of that team when I did that. From there, I coming out of OIF and a bunch of air to ground integration work, I had read Colin Powell's book years ago and stumbled on this thing called a White House Fellowship and applied the first year and didn't even get an interview because I was such a marginal applicant, but then figured out how to write these essays a little bit better. And in the second year was lucky enough to get picked to spend a year as a White House fellow. And so in 1964, President Johnson stood up this program, which was really designed to take leaders who are early in their career, take them from either the private sector or the military, bring them to Washington with the objective of giving them insights into how senior leaders make decisions at the cabinet or presidential level. And so the law dictates that each year a commission appointed by the president will select between 11 and 19 Americans who come to Washington on a paid fellowship. For us, it's really like ACSC or War College equivalent, that we got credit for it when I did it. And so so I was very lucky to get picked through this long interview process where there's probably 14, 15 interviews, I think, at the time, to be one of 12, 13, I think it was, folks in my class. And you sort of interview around Washington, and I ended up getting picked to go to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And I couldn't spell USDA, even though it's an acronym. But, and I tell people this all the time. I was super uncertain about what the heck would I do at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And the first day of our White House fellowship, Hurricane Katrina made landfall. And we were instantly, our class was instantly involved with the response and the recovery. And the Secretary of Agriculture, I still stay in contact with him. He was a former governor of Nebraska, wonderful leader, wonderful human named Mike Johans. I still remember he walked into my office the very first day and quietly said, what are you doing? And I said, whatever you want, Mr. Secretary. And he said, well, come with me. And we get in his car and we drive over to the Eisenhower Executive Office building, and we are going to this big cabinet level synchronization meeting. And we get on the elevator, and it goes up one floor. The door opens, and on walks Andy Card, who's the president's chief of staff, and the vice president, and a couple Secret Service agents. And I am shrinking into the back of the elevator, hoping that no one will actually say anything to me. But that was a year of great insights for me at USDA. And so the program is designed to really give you deep understanding of how our leaders make decisions between the three branches of government. And, it was an absolutely wonderful, wonderful year. USDA as a cohort took amazing care of me, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but they were incredibly inclusive. And so I worked on Katrina. I was early leader that had a chance to write the playbook for avian influenza. If the world knew, they had a fighter pilot writing the high pathogenic avian influenza playbook for the interagency, and a fighter pilot that had marginal grades in college. They would have been scared beyond belief. But it was just a great year. That's how I ended up at USDA.
I'd like to hear about Katrina, what your experiences were with that, or even like what you saw. I don't know what your involvement was there. And then, avian influenza. That'd be an interesting aspect to talk about. Again, not something that you would necessarily find yourself as an F-16 pilot doing.
Yeah. Well, Katrina, was pretty quickly the executive branch and the interagency were pretty quickly all in. And so a lot of what I did early on, especially as a member of the Guard, was connect elements in USDA with the Title 32 state tags and the emergency operations centers, and really was trying to make sure, USDA does way more than just agriculture. They do Wi-Fi in rural areas. They do aid. They do food safety and security. They do all kinds of things that would just blow your mind. And I had absolutely no idea. But, in the response phase, we were really working on how do we lash up the department with the other agency, federal, state, local, and tribal entities that were responding. Not long after that, the president directed that we were going to do a lessons learned project. And so I was tagged by the secretary to lead, USDA's debrief. And so we pulled together all of the senior leaders in the department, and we sort of launched this debriefing process. So, by the way, that was not unlike what we do in a fighter squadron. What were our objectives? What was our plan? Did we execute that plan? Yes or no? If not, why not? What did we do? Did we do that plan better? What were the limits that we had? And so I was lucky enough to lead the team that led that debrief, which resulted in us contributing to and me helping to write the overall Katrina Lessons Learned project. So, I think one of the lessons that I want everybody to take away from this is this knowledge, skills, and abilities that we have as fighter pilots. Everything from the culture to the process of how we plan missions, how we go focus on execution, how we come back and check our egos at the door and do debriefs that are focused on fact and not fiction, and then derive lessons learned that are understandable and applicable to the things that we're going to go do. Those skill sets that we have as fighter pilots apply in things other than just tactical aviation.